for our discussion on Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13. Just give me a quick second. Let me just pull out my presentation for this purpose. All right. So we can have the slide deck. And yeah. So we are discussing or studying Bhagavad Gita, and we have completed the first two sections. There are three sections that our acharyas describe or describe the 18 chapters of Bhagavad Gita into three sections: Nishkama Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and the final section that is Jnana Yoga. And of that, the first chapter is the chapter 13, titled as Nature, the Enjoyer, and Consciousness. This chapter 13 begins with 6 questions of Arjuna. We'll take a look at it. What are those 6 questions? If I have to just give you a summary of it, it is Purusha, Prakriti, Kshetra, Kshetragya, Jnanam, Niyam. We'll come back to it in a short while. What are the 6 questions? Along with the 6 questions, we're also going to study some 6 very important subject matters, or you can say lessons we can derive from this chapter. It's a little tricky and complicated chapter. We'll talk about it, but let's do a quick recap of what we have discussed so far. We can have the slide deck, please. So in chapter 1 to 6, primarily the discussion was about Nishkama Karma Yoga, and through performing of Nishkama Karma Yoga, attaining to the stage of Bhakti Yoga, how to engage our senses in the service of the Lord. Whereas chapter number 7 to chapter number 12 categorically talked about Bhakti Yoga. We're engaging everything in the service of the Lord to be the highest. And now the final 6 chapter, chapter 13 to 18, talks about Jnana. So if in case Bhakti have been discussed, maybe I can have this question with all of you first. We can take up the slide, Prabhu. Any thoughts? What would you like to say or comment? Why Jnana Yoga section is there now after the 12th chapter when Bhakti Yoga has been established? One answer which all of us recognize and know that Bhakti Yoga is a secret. It has been kept in the middle of Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga. Okay. Well, what potential usage or application Jnana Yoga may have for us? Any quick thoughts? What would you like to say or add to it? Why discuss about Jnana Yoga now? Hey, wait a second. Let me check if my speaker is working. The sound is going to come from your speaker? Yes, Mother Jyoti or Deshdeepak Prabhu, go ahead. Speaker once. Let's see your sound is coming or not. Boliye.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Can't hear you. Just keep chanting Hare Krishna once.
Hare Krishna, Hare
Yes.
Krishna.
Audible, audible. Go ahead, Mother.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhuji, is it that Lord Krishna is supplying this philosophical knowledge of how the material manifestation works to help us detach from
very nice,
matter
very nice.
and get attached to him? And when we use this knowledge as a means to develop devotion, then it becomes part of bhakti.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. Yeah, this is a very academic answer. I don't know if you're reading from somewhere, or you read through some passage, but correct answer.
Okay. I heard about it. I mean, it's in my notes. When we did the Gita essence, it is.
Oh, okay, okay. All right. It sounds pretty familiar, as okay, okay. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, that's the whole point. Good answer. So the whole application of Jnana Yoga section here, is to help cultivate detachment from matter and develop attachment to Krishna. So the subject matter which will be discussed here, if you talk about this 13th chapter, in fact, not 13th, let's say the last, among the 6th, the 5 chapters, if we talk about, going to speak about 3 concepts: Ishvara, Jiva, and Prakriti. And that's what it is being asked here. Purusha Prakriti, Kshetra Kshetragya, Jnanam Gnayam. So this all gets divided between gross matter, subtle matter, and spirit. We'll show that. I have a slide for that. You will understand that. So three things have been discussed in an analytical view, point of view. One is about Ishvara, second is Prakriti, and third is Jiva. To have an understanding, so that to have an understanding, just like we discussed in Ishopanishad, we need to know about Jnanam and Avidya, because avidya means jada vidya, about this dead matter. We need to know so that we know where we should attach ourselves and from what we should detach ourselves. And second, for to live in this world, we need to know how to live in this world. What are the things, the nature of the qualities of the things or objects which are found in this world. So that's the subject matter of this chapter. So therefore, this Gyan has been discussed, presentation. If bhakti is ultimate, then why Jnana is prescribed after section Bhagavad Gita, after section on bhakti? In chapter number 12, verse number 7, Lord Shri Krishna says that I promise, or rather we see over there, Krishna promises to save his devotees from samsara of death. So particularly chapter 13 to 18 showcases the highlights that how Krishna fulfilled his promise by supplying philosophical knowledge, which is essential to remove or become detached from material entanglement. That's the point here, which is being described. Oh, where are we? Like that. So, in essence, this chapter will help the listeners and readers strengthen their conviction and deeper their understanding of life, as well as the subject matter of spirit. The chapter 13 is one of the very, very important chapter of this Bhagavad Gita, most debated chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where one of the most complicated subject matters will be discussed. The sixth question that Arjuna asked, according to the commentaries by Acharya, these are the six fundamental questions which have been addressed in our Vedantas, just like, again, Purusha, Prakriti, Kshetra, Kshetragya, Jnanam, Gnayam, like that. And in that, the most debatable subject is about Supersoul. Am I the soul, or super soul, or super soul and soul is one? Like that, Mayavadi gives very strange commentary to this particular chapter. So let's do a quick recap of the 6 chapters of the last section of Bhagavad Gita, and then we'll come back and resume our discussion on chapter 13. So let's take a look. What is chapter 14 about? Chapter 14 is titled as the 3 modes of material nature. So in chapter 13, we learn about Purusha, who is the enjoyer. We learn about Prakriti, who is enjoyed. We also understand the difference between super soul and soul. Now in chapter 14, the subject matter of Purusha Prakriti is extended, where chapter 14 begins with explaining that how Krishna says, I am the original Purusha. The whole creation has come from me, Aham Bija Pratapita, etc. Lord Shri Krishna clearly establishes a relationship with Prakriti and Jiva. And then he tells or talks about Jiva, that how Jiva at all times are influenced by Prakriti through the laws of modes of material nature. And the 3 modes of material nature, Sattvagun, Rajagun, Tamagun, that is what described. So an individual thinks that he is controller, he is enjoyer. However, chapter 14 debunks this mistaken identity of self. Rather, it proves how an individual, everyone, is nothing but a puppet in the hands of modes of material nature, which we often call as Maya Devi, which is Lord's Devi Yeshuganamai, or Maya, Lord's external energy, very difficult to surpass. Chapter 15, titled as the Yoga of the Supreme Person. Now here Lord Shri Krishna talks about, okay, I'm not the controller, enjoyer has been established in the 14th chapter. Now Krishna talks about, to further gives the sense of that, this world does not belong to us. The Lord Shri Krishna, very beautiful chapter here, talks about spiritual world, talks about material world. Here Krishna talks about how I am the maintainer, protractor of every living entity. And interestingly, this chapter 15 begins with establishing what is our real home. And Krishna says, this material world is nothing but a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. Our real home is in the spiritual world. What we see here is nothing but a perverted reflection. Here, analogy of a hotel versus home is given. A person checks in a hotel, but if he begins to change the interior, remove the paint on the wall, change the carpet, and get a different linen, etc., etc., as if he's going to live forever, would be called as a fool. Therefore, Krishna says, the material world is like a hotel. We are here for temporary stay, but unfortunately, we try to make a permanent stay here. Similarly, we get pushed out of one body after another body. Where in the 15th chapter, Lord Shri Krishna concludes, please understand our real home is back to Godhead. And spiritual life or the human form of life is meant to attain only that goal. That is the only goal which is meant and described for human form of life. Let's go to chapter number 16, titled as The Divine and Demonic Nature. So Arjuna can ponder, my dear Lord, does it mean everyone will go back home, back to Godhead? Krishna says, well, there are two kinds of beings. One is said to be divine, other is said to be demoniac, and these two beings are always existing in this nature or in this material world. Krishna talks about briefly about the qualities, 26 qualities of divine being in the first 3 verses, and then most of the chapter is dedicated to glorify the demonic beings. Probably the population more in Kali Yuga. Therefore, Lord Shri Krishna spoke more verses about them, describing them. The fundamental difference between divine and demoniac is not how they look. Most of the time we think if somebody is divine, extremely good looking, and somebody is demoniac is a very ugly looking person. Just like Ravana. Ravana was not an ugly looking person. Same with Duryodhana, was an ugly looking person. Extremely smart and beautiful personalities. So what is the difference between divine and demoniac? Divine is one who follows authority. Demoniac is one who does not accept any authority. And the foremost authority is Vedic Shastra, Avidhi Purvakam. So demonic mindset is one which works according to their own whims, but never follows Vedic injunctions. Then comes chapter number 17, titled as The Divisions of Faith. So Arjuna asked at the beginning of the chapter 17, my dear Lord, what about those people who have faith and their faith is governed not according to modes of material nature? Hare Krishna. Excuse me. Chapter 17. Arjuna inquires, my dear Lord, what of those with faith is not governed by Vedic scriptures, but they do have a strong faith. But according to that faith, they worship maybe devatas, or maybe human beings, or maybe ghosts and hobgoblins. What about them? So Lord Shri Krishna begins to speak about how faith, how everything, how our motivations, how our determination, our happiness, our mode of worship, everything is governed by modes of material nature. In Sattva-guna, the person has clarity of thought, he's content and happy in mode of passion. There's a tremendous hankering in mode of ignorance, there's a laziness and a destructive mindset, like the Lord Shri Krishna speaks about it. And finally, in other words, a great psychology has been described in this chapter and also the 18th chapter. Finally, the chapter 17 concludes with Om Tat Sat. Om, absolute truth. Tat. Tat is a word like Tad Vidhi Pranipatena. Tad Vidhi means to know. Pranipatena, you go and know. Know about what? Tat. Tat refers to absolute Tattva Darshinaha. Another usage of word Tat is Tattva Darshinaha. So Om, absolute truth. Tat, absolute truth. Sat, eternal, absolute truth. So one usage of Om Tat Sat is, may Krishna be pleased with all your endeavors. May Krishna bless you and let there be auspiciousness. So traditionally, every Vedic sacrifice or every function would end with this particular, you can call it aphorism or statement, Om Tat Sat, which was considered as a blessing, which means let all your endeavors may be pleasing to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which means it would bring all auspiciousness. Well, that's it. Om Tat Sat. That is the last word. If you even remember Prabhupada's letters, Prabhupada will say Om Tat Sat, and then say, your ever well-wisher, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So it's a question now. If Om Tat Sat has been already done in the 17th chapter, why have 18 chapters? What is the need of 18th chapter? So if I have to draw a quick conclusion here on this, just like, Prabhupada after signing, while signing, he'll say Om Tat Sat, and then he'll say, your ever well-wisher. It was kind of a reminder. And then A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila. So 18th chapter is just like that. It kind of again summarization of the whole discussion of Bhagavad Gita, where it concludes with again something like Manmana Bhavam Dakto, re-establishing one's relationship with the Lord. And who is most dear to the Lord, like that, the 18th chapter ends. So this is a quick summary of these last 6 chapters. If in case somebody felt Bhakti was a little boring, Jnana is exciting, so you might be a little happy in the last 6 chapters. There's a little intellectual stuff that we're going to discuss. So, all right, let's pace on and move on to our discussion. So, as we're going to discuss 6 questions here in chapter 13, and we're also going to discuss some 6 lessons. First, who is the enjoyer? We have the presentation on, right, Prabhu? Yeah, perfect. Who is the enjoyer? That has been discussed in the chapter. Why do bad things happen to good people? Where is my freedom? 3 doers. What is the purpose of material creation? And the 6th question is vision of transcendentalists, like that. These things. So, if you ask me, among all the chapters, this is one of the most difficult chapters that our devotees often find. It's just because of the technicalities and the subject matter discussion. And I'll show you how it's a little confusing. And this is a chapter where Mayavadis have really taken advantage of the complexity and have given some absurd ideas explaining Om Tat Sat Tat Tvam Asi. I am that. Om Tat Sat is the Supreme Personality Godhead. Tat Tvam Asmi means I am that Tat. Like that, they explain that. So we'll see that. Let's begin with the questions that Arjuna asked. Text number 1. Yeah. Oh, we discussed acronym? Yeah, acronym. Sorry, I forgot. So acronym, the acronym for this chapter is WISE. Once again, this is His Grace Sutapa Prabhu, who is now Sannyasi Keshav Maharaj, if I'm correct. Please forgive me if in case I said the wrong name. But this is a book compiled by him. I'm using that acronym over here. So WISE, W-I-S-E. So let's begin with that. W stands for WISE question. What is the first 2 verses by Arjuna? Let's read now. Okay, we can done with the presentation. Shri Bhagavan Vacha. Wait a second. No, sorry. Arjuna Vacha. Yeah, not Bhagavan Vacha. Arjuna Vacha. So Arjuna asked a question in the first verse, and second verse onward, Lord Shri Krishna begins to answer. Arjuna Vacha. Prakatim Purusham Chaiva Kshetram Kshetrajnam Evacha Etadvezitam Ichhami Jnanam Niyam Kesava. Very interesting. Maybe we can reflect for a second here. Now, let's take a look at the Sanskrit. Prakatim Purusham Cha Eva Kshetrajnam Evacha Etad Veditum Ichhami. I'm desirous to know this. Jnanam Gnayam. And also about Jnana and Gnayam. Jnana means knowledge. Gnayam is object of knowledge. Cha Keshava. Why Krishna is calling Arjuna as, Arjuna is calling Krishna as Keshava. Any idea? Any thoughts? What does Keshava means? Hare Krishna. Can any of our online audience speak? If in case they're intending to speak. Hare Krishna. So we have discussed this before, killer of Keshi demon, correct? That also means killer of doubts. So my Lord, dear Lord Krishna, I know that you can answer my question, therefore I've asked you. Krishna may say, why should I answer? Who told you that I know? Oh, you are the killer of Keshi demon, you're killer of all doubts, so you can definitely answer like that. So let's take quickly at the slide. What does this 6th question means? So this 6th question can be divided into 3 aspects. As I said, it talks about this 6th chapter is going to talk about matter, spirit, and knowledge. So what is matter here? Prakriti and Kshetra. What is spirit is Purush and Kshetrajna. It can be classified in this way. Oh God. Laptop. Knowledge, Jnana Gnaya. Okay, let's take a look. And this is the title of this chapter, Nature, Enjoyer, and Consciousness. What it means? Prakriti means nature, Purusha means enjoyer, Kshetra means Kshetra, the field of activity, Kshetrajna, one who is the knower of the field of activity, Jnanam, either you can call it the process of knowledge or knowledge itself, and Gnayam, what is the object of knowledge. And these subject matter constitutes Vedic philosophy. And to answer 6 questions, Lord Shri Krishna literally discuss this 6 question all through this chapter like this. So Lord Shri Krishna begins to answer. Text number 2. Shri Bhagavan Vacham Idam Shariram Kaunteya Kshetram iti abhidhiyate etad yo veti tam prahu kshetrajna iti tadvida. I'll explain the meaning. Maybe we can just read out some purpose and then we'll take a look into more discussion. So Bhagavan Shri Krishna, what did Lord Shri Krishna say? The Supreme Personality of God said, this body, the son of Kunti, is called the field, and one who knows his body is called the knower of the field. Kshetra, the field of activities, is the body. Knower of the body, Kshetrajna. Now, text number 3. I'll come back to it. Let's take a look at text number 3. Kshetrajnam chapi mam vedhi sarva kshetreshu bharata kshetra kshetrajnam jnanam yatta jnanam matam mama. We'll pay a little attention to the verses. 13th chapter, verse number 2. Idam shariram kaunteya. So here it is said, this body, O son of Kunti, Kshetram iti abhidhiyate. This body is said to be Kshetram, the field. Etad yo veti tam prahu. Veti means to know. Tam prahu. This is called as, this is what it is known as. Kshetrajna iti tadvidaha. And there is also, Kshetra is a field of activity, and Kshetrajna means one who knows the field. Iti vidaha. Like this is described. Now, next number 3, what Krishna says? Kshetrajnam chapi mam vidhi. Vidhi means to know. Kshetrajna means the knower of the field. Sarva kshetreshu bharata. Kshetrajna, the knower of the field, chapi mam vidhi. Krishna says, know that, mam vidhi is to know that I am also Kshetrajna. But what is the difference? Sarva kshetreshu bharata. However, I know about all the kshetras, all the field of activities. Kshetrajna, kshetra, kshetrajno jnanam. Kshetra field, kshetrajna jnanam is another the field. Yatta jnanam matam mama. Yatta jnanam matam mama. To know this is called as knowledge. Yatta jnanam matam mama. According to me, to know the kshetra and kshetrajna is called as knowledge. Everything is called as ignorance. Now, what it mean by kshetrajna and kshetra? Okay. So Kshetra is described as field of activity, and Kshetra is described as knower of the field. Prabhupada gives an example. Consider a case of a farmer and his agricultural land. In that case, the farmer knows about his agriculture field, whereas the king, because he's the owner of all the land, he knows about all the fields. And on his behalf, a particular farmer is managing particular field. So farmer knows only about the field that he has under his jurisdiction, whereas a king knows about all the fields. Similarly, the soul, individual soul, only knows about the body in which the soul resides, whereas a super soul, being a king, knows about all the bodies. That's the difference. If in case you happen to read about this Mayavadi commentary on this, Baldev Vidyabhushan generally would include the Mayavadi section, what they have spoken, and then they will counter argue. So it'll be complicated, but just to make a point, here in the text 3, the Mayavadi says, Kshetrajnam chapi mam vidhi. They explain it is that I am only the all-knower. I am the supreme, who sarva kshetreshu bharata, who knows about all the world. Like that, they say something which is self-contradictory. That's the point here. So 2 things, Kshetra and Kshetrajna. Kshetra refers to body and Kshetrajna refers to the knower of the body. And there are 2 knowers of the body. One is soul and other is supersoul. And what's the difference? Soul knows about only individual Kshetra, whereas supersoul knows about all the Kshetra, like that. So let's take a look at the purport. 13.1 and 2 purport. So would somebody like to read? Hare Krishna. When how do I know somebody like to read? Okay, Prashant Jalgi Prabhu, your hand is up. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Arjuna was inquisitive about Prakriti, nature, Purusha, the enjoyer, Kshetra, the field, Kshetrajnan, its knower, and the knowledge and the object of the knowledge. When he inquired about all these, Krishna said that this body is called the field, and that one who knows this field is called knower of the field. And this body is the field of activity for the conditioned soul. The conditioned soul is entrapped in material existence and he attempts to lord it over the material nature. And so, according to his capacity to dominate
Hare
material
Krishna.
nature,
Sorry to bother. The screen has to be made a little bigger. The text has to be made a little bigger if in case you want to project it. We can't read anything there. Continue, Prashant Prabhu. I was finding it difficult to understand what's going on here. Yes.
and so according to his capacity to dominate the
I would
material
believe
nature,
everyone would have a copy of Bhagavad Gita, so be it. We can just focus on reading. Yes, continue.
he gets a field of activity. That field of activity is the body. And what is the body? The body is made of senses. The conditioned soul wants to enjoy sense gratification, and according to his capacity to enjoy sense gratification, he is offered a body or field of activity. Therefore, the body is called kshetra, or the field of activity for the conditioned soul.
Now, what is
Now,
very interesting, it is called as Kshetra. What a beautiful usage of the word Kshetra. Why the body is said to be Kshetra? On Kshetra, what do? You cultivate crops, and it is through body you perform karma. It is when you cultivate the land, you get good crops, bad crops. Similarly, as you perform actions through this body, they're classified as pious actions and impious action. And accordingly, you get the result, what you can call as the fruit of your cultivation. All right. Let's go to text number 3. Okay, maybe we can read the last paragraph or the first purport, where purport gives a summary of previous chapters and what's going to happen in this. Go ahead, read out.
in the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, the knower of the body, the living entity, and the position by which he can understand the Supreme Lord are described. In the middle 6 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the relationship between the individual soul and the Supersoul in regard to devotional service are described. The superior position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the subordinate position of the individual soul are definitely defined in these chapters. The living entities are subordinate under all circumstances, but in their forgetfulness they are suffering. When they enlightened by pious activities, they approach the Supreme Lord in different capacities as the distressed, those in want of money, the inquisitive, and those in search of knowledge. That is also described. Now, starting with the 13th chapter, how the living entity comes into contact with material nature and how he is delivered by the Supreme Lord through the different methods of fruitive activities, cultivation of knowledge, and the discharge of devotional service are explained. Although the living entity is completely different from the material body, he somehow becomes related. This is also explained. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Let's go to text number 4. We've already discussed about text number 3. Kshetragam chapimam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. That refers to Supersoul. Text number 4. Tashetram chayadrancha yadvikari yataschayat sacha yat prabhavascha tatsamashena me shino. Now, please hear my brief discussion of this field of activity and how it is constituted. Kshetra, which means this body, what it is made up of, what its changes are, when it is produced, who that know the field of activities is, and what his influences are. So here now Lord Shri Krishna is going to go into the what you call a Sankhya Yoga section. We're going to talk about the constituents of this body. For that reason, for anything that we perceive, or even beyond our perception in this creation, is made up of 24 elements. That would be the discussion in a short while. Text number 5. ऋषिभिः बहुधा गीतं छन्दोभिः विविधैः पृथक् ब्रह्मसूत्रपदैश्चैव हेतुमादिभिः विनिश्चिताः. That knowledge of the field of activities and of the knower of activities is described by various sages in various Vedic writings. It is especially present in Vedanta Sutra, with all reasoning as to cause and effect. Therefore, in this relation, based on this discussion, our Acharya is right that how Purusha, Prakriti, Kshetra, Kshetra, all these are the main subject matter of Veda scripture. This is where the most of the discussion have happened. So, Prabhupada. हरे कृष्णा, रुकावट के लिए खेद है। दूरदर्शन का कार्यक्रम 30 सेकंड के ब्रेक के बाद जारी रहेगा। सैटेलाइट एरर, नो, आई एम स्पीकिंग डायरेक्टली, दैट्स व्हाट आई एम स्पीकिंग डायरेक्टली। आई मीन नॉट सैटेलाइट एरर, नॉट सैटेलाइट, पहले हुआ करता था एंटीना हवा में उड़ जाता था, अभी एंटीना नहीं उड़ा है, अभी हमारा इंटरनेट कुछ गड़बड़ा गया है, सो दे फिक्सिंग। Hare Krishna. Okay. All right. Yeah. We were discussing text number 5, right? Yishve Bahuda Gitam. Oh, yeah, text number 5. So here we were discussing about the puppet. I guess I asked somebody, Mother Rati Manjari or somebody? Mother Rati Manjari, please go ahead and start reading the third paragraph of the puppet. Hare Krishna, what's going on? You can't unmute.
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances.
Yes, go ahead, Mother.
Yes. Purport of text 5, the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Can't hear you. Agni Prabhu, anything with the sound?
Hare Krishna, am I audible, Prabhuji?
Yes.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the highest authority in explaining this knowledge. Still, as a matter of course, learned scholars and standard authorities always give evidence from previous authorities. Krishna is explaining this most controversial point regarding the duality and non-duality of the soul and the supersoul by referring to a scripture, the Vedanta, which is accepted as authority. First, he says, this is according to different sages. As far as the sages are concerned, besides himself, Vyasadeva, the author of the Vedanta Sutra, is a great sage, and in the Vedanta Sutra, duality is perfectly explained. And Vyasadeva's father, Parashara, is also a great sage, and he writes in his books of religiosity, Aham Tvam Cha Tathanye. We, you.
Hare Krishna. Am I audible now? Okay, some of the sound. Mother, you're supposed to read from the third paragraph. I've already explained that. As stated before, Kshetra is the field of activities.
Okay, Prabhu.
Read the third paragraph.
As stated before, Kshetra is the field of activities, and there are two kinds of Kshetrajna, the individual living entity and the supreme living entity. As stated in the Taittiriya Upanishad 2.9, Brahma Pucham Pratishtha, there is a manifestation of the Supreme Lord's energy known as Annamaya, dependence upon food for existence. This is a materialistic realization of the Supreme. Then in Pranmaya, after realizing the supreme absolute truth in food, one can realize the absolute truth in the living symptoms or life forms. In Jnanmaya, realization extends beyond the living symptoms to the point of thinking, feeling, and willing. Then there is Brahman realization, called Vijnana Maya, in which the living entity's mind and life symptoms are distinguished from the living entity himself. The next and supreme stage is Anandamaya, realization of the all blissful nature. Thus, there are 5 stages of Brahman realization, which are called as Brahmapucham. Out of these, the first 3, Annamaya, Pranmaya, and Jnanmaya, involve the field of activities of the living entities. Transcendental to all these fields of activities is the Supreme Lord, who is called Anandamaya. The Vedanta Sutra also describes the Supreme by saying Anandamaya Abhyasat. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is by nature full of joy. To enjoy his transcendental bliss, he expands into Vijnanamaya, Pranmaya, Jnanmaya, and Annamaya. In the field of activities, the living entity is considered to be the enjoyer, and different from him is Anandamaya. That means that if the living entity decides to enjoy in dovetailing himself with Anandamaya, then he becomes perfect. This is the real picture of the Supreme Lord as the supreme knower of the field, the living entity as a subordinate knower, and the nature of the field of activities. One has to search for this truth in the Vedanta Sutra or Brahma Sutra.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah. So let's go on the slide. It's an interesting subject matter in itself, where it is mentioned there are 5 stages of realization. Ana, Prana, Jnana, which is also known as Manamaya, Vijnana, and Anandamaya. So what is this 5 levels realization? Kshetra. Kshetra means 2 things. Body. Body means 2 things. Gross body and subtle body. When you talk about gross body, it indicates to 2 levels of consciousness, Anamaya and Pranamaya. What is Anamaya consciousness? According to same according to same Taittiriya Upanishad, for the first 5 years of life, generally the consciousness is at Anamaya stage. Anamaya stage means food. So I guess we all have observed the child parents are generally worried about the child's well-being in terms of kuch ulta pulta muh mein na dale, right? They're very careful. You should not go out in the mud. You should not move here and there, because whatever the child gets in his hand goes into the mouth. That is Anamaya consciousness. Something like people cannot think anything outside of food. They're just khana like that. Then there is Pranamaya consciousness. Prabhupada talks about where now person begins, one can realize the absolute truth in the living symptoms or life forms. In other words, this is particularly beyond, let's say, 6 onwards, where now he begins to have friends. So he begins to relate with others. Pranamaya. That's been described. Then comes other aspect of Kshetra is subtle body. That is Jnanamaya or Manamaya. What Prabhupada says about it? Realization that extends beyond the living symptoms to the point of thinking, feeling, and willing. Would it be correct if I say the child is generally pretty selfish? Would it be correct to say it's all about I first? And that's just, we call it childish. What is that correct? That is what I mean by Ana and Pranamaya. Now, what by Manamaya or Jnanamaya? Now he becomes sensitive about others' thinking, feeling, and willing also. Now he has ability to think and ability to understand emotions of others and able to relate. That's the point of it here. And then comes how Kshetragya. And then at the level of Kshetragya comes 2 levels of consciousness. One, for individual soul, it is mentioned Vijnanamaya, where he understands that I'm not the body, but spirit soul. But higher than that, consciousness is described as of Anandamaya, where at this point of time, the living entity just does not understand that I'm not the body, but he also understands that there is a Paramatma, where now he can meditate at his lotus feet. And that brings that individual to the platform of Anandamaya consciousness. Prabhupada says, that means that if the living entity decides to enjoy dovetailing himself with Anandamaya, then he becomes perfect. This is the real picture of the Supreme Lord as the Supreme Lord of the field. The living entity is the Supreme as subordinate owner. Now, text number 6 and 7, after having this discussion, talks about what is a Kshetra made up of. Kshetra is made up of 24 elements. Slide, please. The 5 great elements false ego, Mahabhuta. What is Mahabhuta? Earth, water, fire, air, ether is said to be Mahabhuta. So Mahabhutani Ankaro Buddhir Avyaktam Evacha Indriyani Dashaikam Cha Panch Cha Indriya Gocharaha. So 5 are the sense objects, 10 are senses, working senses and knowledge acquiring senses. Mahabhuta 5. So 5 plus 10, 15 plus 5, 20 elements. Then Ahankara Buddhir Avyaktam Evacha. Then false ego, intelligence becomes your what? 21 and 22. Like this. And the mind. Then comes Ichha Dvesha Sukham Dukkham Sanghatas Chetanaditi Etas Chetanam Samashena Savikaram Udharatam. Translation: the 5 great elements, false ego, intelligence, the unmanifested, 10 senses, the mind, the Shekam Panchachendriya. 5 sense objects, desire, hatred, happiness, distress, aggregate the life symptoms, convictions. All these are considered submitted with the field of activities and its interactions. You can see that up on the screen. So very first are the 5 Mahabhutas. Then you have knowledge acquiring and the working senses, as you can see on the slide deck. And then there are the features of subtle body, which is mind, intelligence, false ego. That makes how much? 23. Right? No, over here. Sense objects they have added later on. If you add sense objects before, then it becomes 23. And the 24th element becomes Pradhan, the sum total of this creation. That is what being described here. Like that. Unmanifested. Okay. So this was a discussion about Kshetra and Kshetragya. So this is what is body made up of. This is how Sankhya Yoga studies about it. And the object of the goal of the study is to come to the realization of Paramatma. Now, the next section is verse number 8 to 12. Let's take a look what Arjuna thought. Then Arjuna pondered after hearing all this. Oh, really? You know, we are nothing but a bundle of 24 elements, my dear Lord. Then how do I cultivate this knowledge? And that brings us to the next section from verses 8 to 12. Now, what is knowledge? Does Krishna say anything about knowledge? What knowledge means? Knowledge means to know Kshetra and Kshetra. Again, this chapter only Krishna said. And to know the difference between them. That would be the subject matter of verse number 8 to verse number 12, like that. What are the items of knowledge? Unfortunately, today's time, knowledge is considered to be your ability to memorize, your ability to know more and more details about it. But that's not exactly what knowledge according to Lord Shri Krishna. Knowledge means to know the difference between the body and the soul. So what's the answer? Okay, this is caliber character I've discussed, fine. Let's take a look at the items of knowledge. Text number 8 to text number 12. Amanitvam adambhitvam ahimsa shantirajam acharya pasanam saucham stharyam atma vinigraha. Some of these words are repeated several times whenever there's a discussion about a transcendentalist, qualities of a transcendentalist or a divine personality. Often Krishna quotes these. So Amanitam, probably you can see in the slide deck. Amanitam means humility. Adambhitvam means pridelessness. We'll take a look. Prabhupada makes a slight distinction among all these things very nicely. Ahimsa, non-violence. Shanti, tolerance. Arjavam, simplicity. Acharya pasanam, accepting a spiritual master. Saucham, cleanliness. Stharyam, atma, vinigraha. Stharya means still, which means steadiness. Atma vinigraha means self-control. These are 10 qualities, items of knowledge. Next, Indriyateshu vairagyam, renunciation sense objects. Anankara evacha, freedom from false ego. Realization how this matter world is a place of suffering, perception of evil. Mai Chanya Yogena. Oh, wait a second, I missed some words, right? Yeah. Asakte Anabhiswanga Putradara Grahadishu. Asakte, becoming detached, detached from Anabhiswanga Putradara Grahadishu, from son, from wife, Dara means wife, Grahadishu, in relation to family life. Maichananya Yogena Bhaktir Abhyavicari Viviktadesha Sevitvam Artejana Samshadi Adhyatmanyana Nityatvam Tattvanyana Darshanam Etagyanam Iti Proktam Agnyat Atanyata. So anything outside of this anyatha is said to be ignorance. So let's take a look at the translation here. Humility, pridelessness, non-violence, tolerance, simplicity, approaching a bona fide spiritual master, cleanliness, steadiness, self-control, renunciation of sense gratification, absence of false ego, the perception of the evil of birth and death, old age and disease, detachment, freedom, entanglement with children, wife, and the rest, even mindedness, amidst pleasant and unpleasant events, constant and wide devotion to me, inspiring to live in a solitary place, detachment from the general mass of people, accepting the importance of self-realization, philosophical search for the absolute truth, all these I declare to be knowledge. Besides this, whatever they may be, is ignorance. Srila Prabhupada quotes this set of verse somewhere else, and he draws a very important conclusion. Does anyone know where these verses are quoted? I mean, if at least you remember the book. Any thoughts? Hare Krishna. In particular, those who are Bhakti Shastri student, well, all of you are, and those who have been a part of Bhakti Shastri course for more than a year, you in fact completed that book. And in detail, we discuss this items of knowledge. I know, it's a difficult question. And that was Ishopanishad. 20 items of knowledge. Prabhupada mentions when Jnanam and Avidya has been discussed there. All right. So we'll take a 7-minute break. We'll come back and then take a look at the purpose. All right. So around 1:05, maybe we can come back at, let's say 1:15. Let's take a 10-minute break and then we'll resume our discussion and take it forward. Hare Krishna.
Padakamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavangscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathannitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Sri Vishakanitam Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnava तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादां सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितां हरे
Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. All right. So, going back onto the discussion, what this is, Lord Shri Krishna is speaking about Gneyam. Yeah, no, not Gneyam. He's talking about items of knowledge. Jnanam, what is knowledge actually? And we read in this translation from verse number 8 to 12. And the last line, Krishna says, all these I declare to be knowledge. And besides this, whatever there may be is ignorance. There are around 20 items of knowledge. How do I do that? Can we have the slide? So let them see. And let's ask all of you, according to you, what would be the most important item here for discussion? Because if you look at it, it kind of seems overwhelming. You know, I need to really work on my humility, then, you know, deal with pridelessness, then non-violence, tolerance. We'll take a look at it, what are these factors are. Okay, yeah, actually, when I've already marked in my PPT as essential quality. Oh, I can't do. So the most important quality, Acharya Pasana is essential. But the most important quality is where Lord Shri Krishna mentions is in the 11th verse. Mai chananya yogena bhaktir abhya vicharini. We'll take a look at the purport also. And Srila Prabhupada mentions the most important aspect of knowledge is to cultivate unalloyed devotional service for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How to engage in devotional service? There are 9 limbs. Shavanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma, Nivedanam. And we know that different devotees, Hanumanji in Dasyam, Bali Maharaj in Atma Nivedam, and Shavanam Kirtanam, we have Sukdev Goswami in Parishad Maharaj, and many examples for different aspects. And they excel their life by just taking one aspect of bhakti wholeheartedly. This is the reference from where I often quote in our life while trying to live through bhakti principles. Our focus every morning when we wake up, our focus should be on what to do rather than not to do. What am I supposed to do? Ananya bhakti. Mai chananya yogena bhakti ravya vicharini. How can I serve you, Krishna, today? What can I do so that I can, be pleasing to you in some way? I guess last evening, Radheshyam Prabhu was making a point about, the chanting of holy names, reciting Mangalarati. It's just like in our spiritual bank account, we are adding one coin. Accruing, we're building up on spiritual credits like that. So that's the point here. Yasyatma bhakti bhagavati akinchana sarve gune satra samasita surha harabhavatasya kuto mahatguna manorathenasi dhavato vahi. So Prahlad Maharaj, 5th canto, 18th chapter says, Yasyasti bhakti bhagavati akinchana. The one who actually renders devotional service to the Supreme Personality Godhead automatically develops all the good qualities of the Devta. In fact, Vishnu Thakur says all the Devtas, resides in the body of a pure Vaishnava. Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavati akinchana. How does akinchana? Sarve gunes tatra samasate suraha. all devtas, all their good qualities resides. So that is what focus. To have that, the essential principle is Acharya Upasana. That is why it is said. So the foremost thing what we need to do is to serve. But how to serve? The essential requirement is Tadvidhi Pranipatena Pariprashnena Sevaya. Upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattva darshinaha. And then everything else follows. What is everything else? Let's take a look. We'll read about it from the purport, what each of this means. Prabhupada writes in the purport, in the first paragraph, of all the descriptions of the process of knowledge, the most important point is described in the first line of the 11th verse. Mai chananyogena bhaktirapyabhi charini. The process of knowledge terminates in unalloyed devotional service to the Lord. So if one does not approach or is not able to approach the transcendental service of the Lord, then the other 19 items are of no values. In other words, you may be the most humble, polite, tolerant, and everything, but is of no use if we have not begun to render devotional service the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prabhupada will often give an example. You may add many zeros, but without one, it always remains zero. So all these qualities remain mundane unless we have taken to transcendental service. And then Prabhupada quotes the verse that we were talking about, Yasya asti bhakti bhagavati kanchana. Why it is the most important? Because just by rendering service, if that's the priority, everything else follows. How it begins, the principle accepting a spiritual master is essential. So we have discussed this first paragraph. Let's begin with the next paragraph where there's all these qualities are mentioned. Very beautiful definitions Prabhupada gives. We can have one devotee read out one paragraph. Mother Medavni, you can take out the slides because everyone will have the book. There's no need for it. Okay, Mother Anjana, please go ahead and read the next paragraph. And then I can call out different devotees for reading that way. Yes, please. As for the knowledge outlined here.
As for the knowledge outlined here, the items may be analyzed as follows. Humility means that one should not be anxious to have the satisfaction of being honored by others. The material conception of life makes us very eager to receive honor from others. But from the point of view of a man in perfect knowledge, who knows that he is not this body, anything, honor or dishonor pertaining to this body is useless.
Hare
One
Krishna.
should not be.
That's okay, that's okay. I just don't want to read, I want to have a discussion. Any thoughts? Why a devotee would not be eager to be honored by others? It's just a very natural conditioning for us. We all agree with that? We all have come from that background. It's but very natural. And here Prabhupada categorically mentioned, humility means one should not be anxious to have the satisfaction of being honored by others. In fact, he says this is a material conception where people are very eager to receive honor from others. But who is situated in knowledge, he is not affected. Not only to honor, is equally not affected by dishonor. Pertaining to this body is useless. Any thoughts? I mean, we're discussing in action, it will come gradually by the grace of the Lord, but we're just discussing what probably would be happening here. Any thoughts into it? Yes, Nitai Pran Prabhu Madatani Gopika. Maybe the answer is chant Hare Krishna, you will remain humble all through. Okay, okay, good, nice Kirtan, nice Kirtan. Yes, who was giving the answer? Nitai Pran Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu, go ahead, and Mother.
Prabhu, this would then probably cause the false ego. If you've been seeking for the
Say that again.
If we have been seeking for the honor, then that would cause the false
Yeah,
ego.
correct. That's okay. That's my question is, why devotee would not seek for it? I mean, okay, let me put it this way. Let me not generalize it. The one who is situated on the platform of knowledge, Prabhupada mentioned here, he's not anxious for this honor, and he's not affected by dishonor. That's what I'm asking. Well, what's happening?
devotee understand that false ego, which is getting satisfied with this honor, dishonor, is all on
That's in the beginning stages. That's okay. फॉल्स ईगो का कुछ समय के बाद फॉल्स ईगो इतनी बात लगती है वो बात करना भूल जाते हैं फॉल्स ईगो को लेकर you know false ego is okay right at the beginning stages okay of course it may continue for a while also. Mother Vasana Kishori.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dhanavad Pranams. So is it because the devotee knows that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer and he is the servant of the Lord? So
yeah, theoretically we all know. I don't know what time will come to real practical, reality for it. Correct. But I don't know how it's really doable. Good answer, but it always seems good in paper. Okay. Is there something else which is also possible for us? Probably, maybe sometime, not entirely, but something. Mother Kamalika, go ahead. Hey, I guess it would be audible through camera or no? Okay. Mother Kamalika, go ahead.
The slok comes, chapter 2, slok number 38, Sukhe Dukhe Samay Kritva Labha Labho Jaya Jayo. As without expecting any honor or dishonor, that way no one will be free from sin.
Correct. Well, how does it happen? Well, the question is, what potentially would be the consciousness of the individual where he's not getting affected by honor dishonor? I mean, okay, let's say I get affected by honor dishonor. All right. But I'm really not looking forward to it. I'm happy without it also. If somebody can say I'm happy without it, which means what's going on with his consciousness? Where is his consciousness now, right? Where is he getting the juice of his life? Are you getting my question? We're talking satisfaction. Now, who doesn't like to be honored? It's a basic human nature. Who doesn't like to be appreciated? Who doesn't like to be acknowledged? The concept of fame and followership is what? The satisfaction comes from this only, na? This is honor. I put a video, it went viral. It's an honor. We all are hanging for it. Of course, as a practicing sadhaka, there has been a lot of change in all of us. But still, there could be a little bit of tug of war. So let's look a little step forward. What potentially happening with them? Let's take an example of Srila Prabhupada. Of course, when we quote some example, we'll say, okay, that's a pure devotee. But I'm just discussing. Something maybe we can understand this. So, okay, Mother Indu Radhika, you had some mic session.
One is the devotee knows that it is because of karma is getting dishonored or one.
Wonderful.
And second is that he knows that he has done nothing. Actually, he has learned everything from his spiritual master.
Okay, very nice answer. So it's all happening because of karma. Okay, and it's by the mercy of Guru and Gauranga. Good. Very good answer. He's satisfied in following the instructions of spiritual master and practicing sadhana. Yeah, that's the answer. Mother Jyoti and Deshti Prabhu mentioned, he is satisfied, content with the opportunity to serve. That is where he finds his satisfaction. I am grateful for what all I have received. And if you're grateful, you're not hankering anymore. Now, two things cannot happen parallelly with my limited understanding. You cannot say, I am grateful, yet you say, I want something more from you. Is that kind of correct? A little bit, maybe not entirely, or maybe entirely. Either you say, no, I want something more, or you say, I'm grateful. Now, we may say in our course of action, day-to-day activity, grateful, but if somebody genuinely feels grateful and has a sense of gratitude, he knows that I don't deserve it. I've been given far much more my capacity in adhikar. Then once we have an understanding that I don't deserve it, have been given far much more than my adhikar, an opportunity to serve, then obviously you'll be content. And this is where I really don't want to extend the spiritual matter too much, but because we are Gaudiyas, Gaudiya Vaishnavas, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself taught us about Vipralamba mood. When you go back in 10th canto, when you read about the sections, Gopis interaction with Lord Shri Krishna, very beautiful section, the discussion happens, why Krishna make himself disappear from the Gopis, and Gopis cry in the middle of the night. There are 8 reasons Acharya mentions why Krishna does that. I'm not going to go in the list of all, but 1 or 2 reasons quickly is Krishna does it so that our love for him increases. Why would create that opportunity? Because in separation, we appreciate our beloved. The moment we continue to live, we forget the value of it. And in separation, the love intensifies. When the union happens, then there is a greater satisfaction of that love. In other words, Krishna does that with devotees. He clearly says, why I do to devotees, because I get greater satisfaction when I see all of you coming together in my service. That's what Krishna says. What happened in that Rasila? Prior to that, every gopi wanted to be with Krishna alone. But when Krishna disappeared in the middle of the night, then every gopi agreed and they cried together and they searched together for Krishna. And then when Krishna appeared, he said, I wanted all of you to come together in my service. And then they had a sense of gratitude and they were expressing their whole Gopi Gita is what? Of course, there's a lot of satire also, sarcastic comments also. But this aspect of not expecting honor, my humble understanding is when you're content in your service. And if in case the person who has given you service says, thank you so much, doesn't matter what other things. Similarly, if somebody chastises you, doesn't matter. Because I am serving Guru and Krishna. If they're happy, how does it matter? And if you study the life of Prabhupada disciples, you'll see this quality a lot in that. They lived for Prabhupada, they died for Prabhupada. And if Prabhupada would say anything, everything was just like the heart sank. And if Prabhupada said, thank you, they have achieved everything in their life. Is that okay? In that sense, because Prabhupada have defined humility in that way, we are just kind of discussing what potentially it means. Again, finding contentment and satisfaction in our service and being grateful, generally grateful for the opportunity that I have got to render service. That means humility. Means I don't deserve it. I have been awarded it. Next, non-violence. Yeah, religious mentor, fine. Well, let's read somebody who would like to read. Mother Kishori Rani. Madanjana, you read, I believe, right? Yeah, she read the part. Okay, Mother Karama Kishori Rani, go ahead. As a devotees cannot unmute themselves. You can unmute themselves. Go ahead, start reading.
This is text 6, Prabhuji.
Welcome to Bhagavad Gita class. We are on the text 8 to 12, purport, second paragraph. Not second paragraph, sorry. 1, 2, 3, third paragraph, non-violence.
Okay. Non-violence is generally taken to mean not killing or destroying the body, but actually non-violence means not to put others into distress. People in general are trapped by ignorance in the material concept of life, and they perpetually suffer material pains. So unless one elevates people to spiritual knowledge, one is practicing violence. One should try his best to distribute real knowledge to the people so that they may become enlightened and leave this material entanglement. That is non-violence.
Hare Krishna. Another profound definition. Non-violence, generally means not to commit violence, towards others. But Prabhupada says it also means not to put others in distress. And the way out of it is distributing spiritual knowledge. If you're not distributing spiritual knowledge by our actions, others by default are put into distress. Like that. One thing in terms of Vaishnava behavior and etiquette, His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj mentions one of his classes. It's at times difficult to practice, but I really appreciate that point. Maharaj makes. He says within Vaishnava community, we should be very careful while joking around. Even while making a joke, we should be. In other words, from his perspective, Vaishnava is very, very important for us. Just when you hear from him, you understand, Vaishnava is not some ordinary. We look at each other, hey, what's up? What's going on? Very, very casually. But from his perspective, is something, should be handled carefully. And therefore, there is so much discussion about dealing with different grades of devotees, neophyte, kaisa vivaha karna, madhyama, then uttama, how to behave with all of them. Proper respect has to be given. And even if you give respects beyond their adhikar, that it's also an insult. That is also an insult. This is we'll discuss this in NOI. For example, let's say one of you have gone for some temple and you kind of call the guest house that, we are coming. Can you please keep the room ready for me? Imagine the hotel staff immediately calls back after 5 minutes. Prabhu, can you please wait there? We're coming to pick you up. and the temple car comes to pick you up. And there are two Brahmaji comes out and puts a garland and touches your lotus feet. Say, Prabhu, Prabhu, we are so fortunate. This Punya city has become Punya by the fall of your lotus feet on this land. And you're wondering, Abhi kisko pakad liya? This is definitely a case of mistaken identity. Prabhu, please excuse me. Don't touch me. Leave my luggage. No, Prabhu. How can you? You're so humble. Your humility is dripping from every part of your body. Please allow us to carry you. And you're utterly shocked. Yes or no? You'll be like, let me run back. Ye bade dangerous log hai, ye log to piche pad gaye. And then they bring you to the temple. They take you right there in front of the temple hall, and there are 20 brahmacharis singing and dancing. Hari Val, Hari Val, Hari Val. And you're like, Are kya chal raha hai? Yes or no? And you come out of the car, not come out. They're pushing you out of the car. You don't want to come out of the car only. You already got one shock. You don't know what shock. And suddenly other three devotees come, they put garland, all 20 brahmacharis on your feet. Prabhu, Prabhu, so fortunate you came. Okay, yes, you would feel extremely embarrassed. So this is again, it's a fine thing to give a respect more than a deserving. Again, is an insult. So that's kind of a thing. I mean, I'm just sharing a few thoughts in terms of practice. There's a big long way, but yeah, this is what it means, not to put others in distress. Which means, out of extra respect, you have put this gentleman in a lot of distress. By the way, I'm not joking this, huh? Of course, I a little bit while quoting an example. I made little additional features here, but when we had temple opening, one of our devotees did that. There was a Prabhupada disciple and his good wife was supposed to come. And we had one congregation visiting from some different part of India, had the exact same name for the husband and wife. And we reached to the station, and both this Prabhupada disciple and this family were coming through the same train. Apparently, they were in the same bogie. This family got down from one gate, that family got down from another gate. And this family, he had a board. We're here to receive Prabha, Vishnu, Prabhu, and Malti Devi, something like that. And that couple saw that, really, the devotees have come to help because, we had offered some pickup services. They were supposed to go in a bus. And here there was a VIP car. And this Prabhu's lifter immediately carried their bags and all that. They're like, Nani, Prabhu, hum carry kar sakte? No, we'll carry. Put them in a car. And they were like, car? Why have you brought a car for us? And then I was the one who was waiting to receive them. And I was waiting. I said, kahan gaye? Abhi tak Prabhuji, Mataji aaye nahi. And I have also not seen them. And it was during temple opening. We have not slept for 3 to 4 days. So apne ko din nahi pata tha, raat hi pata thi. Apne ko jo bhi aa gaye, chalo andar chalo. And they came. And the car stopped by a little distance away. Somewhere around 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening. And I was like, okay, finally, Prabhuji, Mataji aa gaye. Jo gaadi khuli, wahan to naujawan, a young couple came out. Maine kaha, this cannot be the Prabhupada disciple. And those two volunteers, this family is not letting their luggage out of their hand. And this one, nahi, Prabhuji, hame dijiye. Prabhuji daantenge humko. Our service authority says, why did you carry the luggage? No. And Mataji, nahi dungi. And I said, okay, wait a second, what's going on? What you guys are doing and what is this congregation doing here? They said, congregation, Prabhuji, hame nahi pata kya chal raha hai. Hame to agwa kar liya gaya hai station se. And my phone was ringing. Unfortunately, I had put in silent and I saw 10 to 20 missed calls from that Prabhu. मैंने कहा तो ये भी पिटे मैं भी बेटा. anyways. Okay, next topic. Tolerance. Okay, who did? Yes, Nitai Brahman Prabhu, go ahead. Tolerance. Oh, you got muted again. Unmute.
Tolerance means that one should be practiced to bear insult and dishonor from others. If one is engaged in the advancement of spiritual knowledge, there will be so many insults and much dishonor.
Very profound statement. Please mark for ourselves. When in case we go through some difficult time, these are something we can golden words. We can come back. It's going to happen for everyone. So many insults and much dishonor from others. Continue, Prabhu.
This is expected because material nature is so constituted. Even a boy like Prahlad, who only 5-year-old was engaged in the cultivation of spiritual knowledge, was endangered when his father became antagonistic to his devotion. The father tried to kill him in so many ways, but Prahlad tolerated him. So there may be many impediments to making advancement in spiritual knowledge, but we should be tolerant and continue our progress with determination.
Continue. Mother can read now. Simplicity.
Simplicity means that without diplomacy, one should be so straightforward that he can disclose the real truth even to an enemy. As for acceptance of the spiritual master, that is essential, because without the instruction of a bona fide spiritual master, one cannot progress in the spiritual science. One should approach the spiritual master with all humility and offer him all services so that he will be pleased to bestow his blessings upon the disciple. Because a bona fide spiritual master is a representative of Krishna, if he bestows any blessings upon his disciple, that will make the disciple immediately advance without the disciples following the regulative principles. Or the regulative principles will be easier for one who has served the spiritual master without reservation.
Cleanliness is the two types, internal, external. External means taking bath, wearing fresh piece of clothes, etc. And internal, which means purifying consciousness, which happens to chanting holy names. Next, steadiness, tsiratha. One should be very determined to make progress in spiritual life. Without such determination, one cannot make tangible progress. Yes, how many of you have an experience? Unless we have determination in the night, I'm gonna wake up for morning program. Many times it doesn't work out. We have to make a conscious effort, a choice that I'm going to wake up in the morning and chant or do whatnot. And in particularly, if in case the morning program has got disturbed for a while and you want to rebound, it definitely happens. Self-control means one should not accept anything which is detrimental to the path of spiritual progress. One should become accustomed to this and reject anything which is against the path. This is real renunciation, like that. And Prabhupada talks about Vacho Vegam, Manasa, Krodha Vegam, like that. Our different senses. Next paragraph, false ego. Mother Medhavani, go ahead, read that paragraph, please.
False ego means accepting this body as oneself. When one understands that he is not his body and the spirit soul, he comes to his real ego. Ego is there. False ego is condemned, but not real ego. In the Vedic literature, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad 1.4.10, it is
all
said,
right. This is just a little description given about it. We all know false ego and all that. Go to the next one. Dukkha dosha anam darshanam. Yes.
One should try to understand the distress of accepting birth, death, old age, and disease. There are descriptions in various Vedic literatures of birth. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, the world of the unborn, the child's stay in the womb of the mother, its suffering, etc., are all very graphically described. It should be thoroughly understood that birth is distressful. Because we forget how much distress we have suffered within the womb of the mother, we do not make any solution to the repetition of birth and death. Similarly, at the time of death, there are all kinds of sufferings, and they are also mentioned in the authoritative scriptures. These should be discussed. And as far as disease and old age are concerned, everyone gets practical experience. No one wants to be diseased and no one wants to become old, but there is no avoiding these. Unless we have a pessimistic
Now, this is the important point we can mark. Unless we have a pessimistic view, go ahead.
Unless we have a pessimistic view of this material life, considering the distresses of birth, death, old age, and disease, there is no impetus for our making advancement in spiritual life.
Therefore, this is one another reason you can say Bharat Bhumi is glorified, because we don't hide this harsh realities of life. In the West, most of these things are covered over. Even they don't burn the body in an open air, open field. You have a closed chambers where they could go and do it. Even the family members don't get to see it like that. So nothing, no birth, no death, old age disease. You don't really get that. It's all the culture is such, it has to be hidden. But unless we have a pessimistic view about it, we will not understand this. Unless we develop the pessimistic view, we cannot really become determined. Then what does it mean to become detached from family members? Prabhupada writes in the next paragraph. Continue, Mother Mandavani. What it means for detached children, wife.
As for detachment from children, wife, and home, it is not meant that one should have no feeling for these. They are natural objects of affection. But when you're not favorable to spiritual progress, then one should not be attached to them. The best process for making the home pleasant is Krishna consciousness. If one is in full Krishna consciousness, he can make his home very happy because this process of Krishna consciousness is very easy.
All right. So chanting Hare Krishna, deity worship, reading of scriptures together, one should train the family members in doing the same thing. Like this, if anyone follows these principles, then they did not give up anything. There is no need to change from the family life to renounced life. Oh, really? But Prabhupada says no. But if it is not congenially found it, read it.
But if it is not congenial, not favorable for spiritual advancement, then family life should be abandoned. One must sacrifice everything to realize or serve Krishna, just as Arjuna did. Arjuna did not want to kill his family members, but when he understood that these family members were impediments to his Krishna realization, he accepted the instruction of Krishna and fought and killed them. In all cases, one should be detached from the happiness and distress of family life, because in this world, one can never be fully happy or fully miserable.
Hare Krishna. And then Nityam cha samachitatvam, which means becoming fixed, not getting affected by sukhe dukhe samakritva, labha labho jaya jaya. That's what the next paragraph talks about it. And Prabhupada actually is talking about how Narad Muni tells to Vyasa, where Narad Muni tells, just like distress comes on its own accord, happiness also comes on its own accord. We should not get too much bogged down or worried about it like that. I mean, that's what is indicated. Devotion service to Krishna without deviation means engaging oneself in the 9 process. Naturally, when one is adapted to the spiritual life, he will not want to mix with materialistic men, give up bad association. They would go against his grain. One may test himself by seeing how far he is inclined to live in solitary place without unwanted association. Solitary place means not having bad association, but association of devotees. I guess all of us would have an experience when we picked up Krishna consciousness. Somehow we just could not go along with our old friends and family members. Somehow it began to really disturb us from within. It just naturally happened. You never thought of it. It just naturally became, maybe your old kitty friends, or maybe for men could be the old bar friends, whatever way they would go and mingle around. Now the same people just do not make sense. I know the conversation just doesn't connect. That's a point of all the qualities. It's good to be conscious of it, no doubt. We should definitely read about it, but our focus should be somehow or other we should continue to serve Krishna. And it's good if we follow Vaishnava etiquette properly. That helps. That's a point here. As far as self-realization is clearly stated here that Bhakti Yoga is spiritually practical. Like this. Next paragraph, Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.11, Vadanti tat tattvavidas tattvam yajnana vadvyam. Those who actually know absolute know that the self is realized in 3 phases, Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagwan. Bhagwan is the last one realization of absolute truth. Therefore, one should reach up to the platform understanding the Supreme. And then comes the concluding paragraph. Mother Leela, please read the last paragraph of the purport. Oops, sorry. Did we mute and mute? Mother Leela, yes, go ahead.
Beginning from practicing humility up to the point of realization of the Supreme Truth, the Supreme Absolute Personality of Godhead, this process is just like a staircase beginning from the ground floor and going up to the top floor. Now, on this staircase, there are so many people who have reached the first floor, the second or the third floor, etc. But unless one reaches the top floor, which is the understanding of Krishna, he is at a lower stage of knowledge. If anyone wants to compete with Lord God and at the same time make advancement in spiritual knowledge, he will be frustrated. It is clearly stated that without humility, understanding is not at all possible. To think oneself God is most puffed up. Although the living entity is always being kicked by the stringent laws of material nature, he still thinks, I am God, because of ignorance. The beginning of knowledge, therefore, is amanitva, humility. One should be humble and know that he is subordinate to the Supreme Lord. Due to rebellion against the Supreme Lord, one becomes subordinate to material nature. One must know and be convinced of this truth. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. On the slide, please. So let's have a quick questions here. If somebody would like to give an answer for this, we have discussed all this while. Yeah. What is the most important quality Srila Prabhupada mentions here? Anyone? which we discussed in this. Huh?
Constant and
Yes.
unalloyed devotion unto the Lord.
Unalloyed devotional service to the Lord. How to test one's progress? How to test one's progress? No, this is right from the Prabhupada purport. What did Prabhupada say? We just read it. How do we test our progress?
By tolerating the things. Once we start tolerating the things.
Okay. Prabhupada writes right in the third last paragraph. One may test himself by seeing how far he is inclined to live in a solitary place without unwanted association, which means how much one is willing to be around and with only devotees. It's very interesting. Only by Madhav Seva, everything can be accomplished, isn't it? Which means Madhav Seva in itself is all purifying. Why? Because Madhav Seva comes, along with Madhav Seva comes Vaishnav Seva. And Vaishnava definitely purify. You know, being along and just being around and serving together. So why this has kind of been emphasized like this? Because at times, maybe it's different occasions, the thought will come, हमें किसी की आवश्यकता नहीं है, हम अपने आप 16 माला नाम जप करेंगे, प्रभु को प्रसन्न करेंगे और अकेला ही टिकट फाड़ के भगवत धाम जाएंगे. You know, things can come up like this in mind, but it doesn't happen like this. You know, when devotees come together, because of the conditioning, there could be friction. When they come together and serve Guru and Gauranga, that purifies them. And then what comes out of it is a 24 karat gold. You know, anything in this creation which has to be purified goes through great, what do you say, process. Any element which, you know, comes in a raw state and then it comes into the polished state, how much friction it goes through. And we're also one of the material of this conditioned world. Why wouldn't we go through? So there is no easy way out of it. That's the reality of life. Okay, why discuss the miseries of life? Yes, Mother Maitani.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Danda Pranam, so that one can be more determined in his spiritual progress.
One could be more. It's important to have a pessimistic viewpoint of material life. So we are not so excited when we look at the so-called apparent advancements. Even if you're advancing in death. That's the only thing is happening. No bullock carts ever had accidents. एक फार्मर का भैंसा दूसरे फार्मर के भैंसे पे ऊपर चढ़कर उसको फार्मर को मार दिया. There was never a collision between the carts. You know, nothing. But so much car accidents happen. And what happened in the last question? Yeah. And okay, we'll leave that. Let's go to text number 13. Now we cannot be on the presentation only. I can make this explain the subject matter from there. Now we come to the third acronym, third section of this 13th chapter. W was the first acronym meant. W letter meant. What is W what? I.
Wise questions.
No. Wise questions, correct. I.
Items of knowledge.
Items of knowledge. And S, soul and supersoul. This means Gneyam. So far, what questions of Arjuna have been answered? Krishna has spoken about Purusha and Prakriti, right? Yes? No. Why did Krishna say about Purusha and Prakriti? Only Kshetra and Kshetraka have been discussed. And Jnanam, items of knowledge have been discussed. And the fourth question is Gneyam. What is the subject matter of knowledge? What is the object of knowledge? What is the goal of knowledge? That is to understand soul and supersoul. And then the last subject matter would be Purusha and Prakriti. So let's take a look at it. Object of knowledge. We'll go through the presentation a little bit and then we'll take a look at the verses. Oh yeah, actually we'll have to take a look at the verses. Okay, let's go to the verses again. Then come back to it. Text number 13. Text number 13. Neyam yattat pravakshami yajñatvamritamashnuti anadi mat param brahma na sat tanna sat uchyate. Now this becomes very interesting here. Let's take a look at a little Sanskrit here. Gneyam yattat pravakshami. whatever is knowable, I shall explain to you. Pravakshyami. Yaj gyatva amritam ashnute. And if you know this knowledge, if you gain this knowledge, what do you get? Amritam ashnute. You get nectar. Anadi, beginningless, matparam, my shelter, Brahma, spirit, na sat, tan, na asat. There is no cause and effect of it. Chite is said to be. समझ गए? नहीं समझे? This is what the subject matter is all about. A little tricky here. I shall now explain the knowable, knowing which you will taste the eternal. Brahman, spirit, beginningless and subordinate to me, lies beyond the cause and effect of this material world. Brahma Bhuta Prasanatmana Sochidna Kangsha. That's what Krishna is saying. Once you understand you're not the body but the spirit soul, then you begin to taste the Ananda, Amritam. What Amritam? Amritam of eternity. Freedom from Sochati and Kankshati. That is the point being mentioned here. All right. Okay. This is fine. Let's go to text number 14. So we have to a little bit pay attention to the Sanskrit here. So what has been discussed about? Brahman, spiritual. Text number 14. Sarvata pani padam tat sarvato akshi shiro mukham sarvata shuti manloke sarvam avratya tishtati. Sarvata pani padam tat. Pani matlab haath. Padam means pair. Sarvata, everywhere. Sarvato akshi shiromukham. Akshi means aakhe. Shiro means head. And mukham means faces. Everywhere. Sarvata shuti manloke. Shuti means ears. Ears everywhere. Sarvam avratya tishtati. Sarvam, everything. In this way, everything is covered by whom? How God? Give me evidence. Where it is mentioned God? What Shrutimal? So what is being discussed about soul? Now here says Sarvata Pani Padam Tat. Har jagah uske पैर है, हर जगह हाथ है, सब जगह आंख है, चेहरा है, मुख है, कान है. Is all pervasive. Who is all pervasive? What evidence do you have Supersoul? Where it is mentioned Supersoul? Any word you see Supersoul? Any Sanskrit word here? Look at the previous verse. It says soul. Anadi matparam brahma. Brahma. That's spirit. Matparam, my shelter. What is being discussed here? Soul. बस सोचो मायावादी अब नाचते हैं उनका कीर्तन का समय आ गया है देखो हमारी बात चल रही है यहाँ पर no it is not like that so we cannot understand first of all the subject has been discussed between two highly or not too highly one is a supreme personality other student is highly evolved person so when this subject matter is happening this is not for the first time Krishna is speaking on Paramatma. And it's not for the first time Krishna is making a point. Sarvata Pani Padam Tat. In this chapter only Krishna had established right in the beginning about two Kshetrajna. Go back to 13th chapter, verse number 5, if I'm correct. No. Text number. Wait a second. 13th chapter, right? Text number 3. Kshetragnam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata sarva kshetreshu Krishna saying mam vidhi you should know that I know about the field of all sarva kshetru and prior to that in the previous verse 13th chapter verse number 2 the supreme person this body of son of Kunti is called the field and one who knows this body is called the knower of the field one who knows is soul but one who knows about all the field is super soul or the Lord. Now from that context, if you come here on text number 14, Sarvata Pani Padam Tas Sarvato Akshishro Makam Sarvata Shruti Manloke Sarva Avrita Tishrati. Who is being here discussed? Super Soul or the Supreme. Is that making sense? That's the point here. Everywhere are his hands, like his eyes, his hands has been described here. And Prabhupada quotes this point. Okay. Haribol, am I making sense or are we losing the track? Now let's come to this is the most difficult section. 13th to 19th verse are the most complicated verses. This is where we are befooled by different commentaries where they make Atma is Paramatma or Paramatma is Atma. Text number 15. Now, let's take a look at it now. Sarvendriya gunavasam Sarvendriya vivarjitam Asaktam sarvachaiva nirgunam gunabhoktacha Sarvendriya gunavasam. Avasam, the original source. Sarvendriya vivarjitam Asaktam sarva vachaiva nirgunam guna bhoktacha. So here a contradictory quality of the Supersoul is mentioned. Sarvendriya. The Supersoul is original source of all senses. Sarvendriya gunabhasam. Yet he is without senses. Sarvendriya vivarjitam. Vivarjitam means without. The first line says he is the source of all senses. Sarvendriya gunabhasam. Yet Sarvendriya vivarjitam. He does not have senses. Asaktam sarva bhachaiva. He is unattached. Asaktam sarva bhachaiva. Yet he maintains all. Third contradiction. Nirgunam. He is, nirguna. He does not have any influence of modes of matter nature. Guna bhoktacha. Yet he is the master of all the modes of material nature. How is this possible? He is without senses, yet he is the original source of senses. So Prabhupada mentions here, quoting Shweta Ashvatara Upanishad, Apani Pado Javano Grahita purport. The Supreme Personality of God has no hands which are materially contaminated, but he has hands and accepts whatever sacrifice is offered to him. There is a distinction condition to and Supersoul. So when he said he is Sarvendriya Vivarjitam, now this could lead to that Lord is formless. No, when it means he is nirguna, which means he has spiritual senses, not material senses. When it says Sarvendriya Vivarjitam, he does not have material senses, but spiritual senses. Nirguna means no effect of modes of material nature. Like that is being described here. That's the understanding. Although we do not see the last few lines of the word, although we do not see head, face, hands, or legs, he has them. And when we elevate it to the transcendental position, we can see the Lord's form. Due to materially contaminated senses, we cannot see his form. Therefore, the impersonalists who are still materially affected cannot understand the personality of Godhead. So you see how it is a favorite section of Mayavadis? First, you have proven in the 14th verse, the soul and Atma is same, but soul and Supersoul. 15th, the Lord is formless now. He doesn't have any form. But that's contrary meaning. Text number 16 now. Contradictory qualities continue. He's outside and inside a living entity. Acharam charavevacha, within moving and non-moving. Sukshmatva tad avigneyam. Because he's subtle, therefore avigneyam, he cannot be understood. Durastham chantike chatat. He's situated far away, yet he is very near. Tadejeti tannejeti taddure tadva antuke. Ishopanishad, do you remember that? In Ishopanishad it was also said, the Lord is very far away, the Lord is very near also. The Lord can walk, Lord cannot walk. All contradictory qualities were mentioned about the Lord. The Supreme Truth exists outside and inside of all living beings, the moving and non-moving, because he's subtle. He's beyond the power of the mental senses to see or to know. Although far, far away, he is also near to all. This is the meaning of he being omnipotent. An example is given of when Lord had to protect Gajendra the elephant. The Lord was sitting in Vaikuntha, and Gajendra was somewhere, and he called out, he plucked the flower and offered to the Lord, and Lord immediately appeared. Similarly for Draupadi, Lord was back in Dwarka. When Draupadi raised her hand, Lord immediately appeared. There are so many examples where it proves omnipotency, where the devotee out of their helpless call on the name of the Lord, and Lord appeared to protect them. And we also say, well, Lord Narasimhadev, right? What is it? What is the Antar Bahir? Ito Nasima Parato Nasima Yato Yato Yami Tato Nasima. Bahena Sima, Hidayena Sima, Narasimhamadim Sharanam. Like that. I take a shelter. So Antar and Bahar is being described for the Lord Narasimhadev. Text number 17. We're going to take two more verses and we'll pause for our discussion and take any question if you have. Avibhaktam cha bhuteshu vibhaktam eva chastitam bhutavratra tachatajneyam Krishnishnu Prabha Vishnu cha. Although the Supersoul appears to be divided among all beings, he is never divided. Avibhaktam cha bhuteshu, without divisions. He is situated as one. Although he is meant in all living entity, it is to be understood that he devours and develops all. Somebody would like to read the purport? Kindly raise your hand. Madhavati Manjari, go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, I'm audible?
Very well, Mother. Go ahead.
Okay. The Lord is situated in everyone's heart as the Supersoul. Does this mean that he has become divided? No, actually he is one. The example is given of the sun. The sun at the meridian is situated in its place. But if one goes for 5,000 miles in all directions and asks, where is the sun? Everyone will say that it is shining on his head. In the Vedic literature, this example is given to show that although he is undivided, he is situated as if divided. Also, it is said in Vedic literature that one Vishnu is present everywhere by his omnipotence, just as the sun appears in many places to many persons. And the Supreme Lord, although the maintainer of every living entity, devours everything at the time of annihilation. This was confirmed in the 11th chapter when the Lord said that he had come to devour all the warriors assembled at Kurukshetra. He also mentioned that in the form of time he devours also. He is the annihilator, the killer of all. When there is creation, he develops all from their original state, and at the time of annihilation, he devours them. The Vedic hymns confirm the fact that he is the origin of all living entities and the rest of all. After creation, everything rests in his omnipotence, and after annihilation, everything again returns to rest in him. There are confirmations of Vedic hymns. Yatova imani bhutani jayante yena jatani jivanti yat prayanti abhisham vishanti tad brahma tad vignasasva. Taittiriya Upanishad 3.1. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Let's take a look at the presentation and do a quick recap of this section. So features of soul, 13th chapter, 13 verse says, beginningless, matparam, under my shelter, and beyond, sat and asat, material cause and effect. And what is the benefit of this knowledge? Will become blissful. That's all Lord Shri Krishna explains. Now that is object of knowledge, soul. These are the qualities of soul. What about super soul? Features of super soul: omnipotent, means present everywhere. Just like the Lord being far, far away can accept our offering. We have an example of Gopinath, his son Raghunandan. Not Gopinath, Gopinath deity, and the son of Mukunda by the name of Raghunandan. How he requested the Lord in his deity form, ideal Lord, my mother will chastise me if you don't eat. Raghunandan was a small boy, and Lord, hearing to his fervent prayer, Lord came down from the altar. Gopinath came down from the altar, ate all the prasadam, and happily the child went back. Mama, Gopinath ate. Mamali, Shane, Badmash, you distributed all Mahaprasadam to your friends and you're coming and telling me Gopinath ate. Your father has been offering to Gopinath for years. Never ever one even single morsel went disappeared. How did? And then when Mukunda came back later in the evening, he asked son, go and do it again. And Mukunda saw with his own eyes how Lord came down from the altar and did it. So yes, omnipotent, he accepts our offering. He hears to our prayers. Draupadi, she made a prayer. Gajendra, he made a prayer. He sees all our activities. How? Law of karma, like this. See all our activities, etc. Omnipotent. And then how is all pervading? Just like sun is all pervading, the sunshine. Similarly, through his energy, is all pervading. Or you can say Virat Rupa. So, how to understand the object of knowledge, which means how to understand soul and super soul. Any thoughts? How do you understand the subject matter? Soul and super soul. We're talking about a subject matter which is beyond pratyaksha. and beyond even the imagination of imaginative Anuman. Is beyond the fiction story of sci-fi movies. Even they cannot. Yes, Agnel Prabhu. Hearing from bona fide special master. Yes, Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 22nd chapter, verse number 5, Prabhupada writes in the purport. Somehow or other, if one meets a saintly person and achieves his favor, then the entire mission of one's human life is full. Wow, what a powerful statement. Narada the boy. Abhicharan Day, a young man meeting Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and the hippies meeting Abhicharan Day as A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada, like that. Then object of knowledge, Supersoul, contradictory qualities of Supersoul. He is a source of senses, but he is without. Maintainer of all, but he is detached. Master of the modes, but he is above the modes. Now, question is, sources of senses, but he is without senses. What does it mean? Means Lord does not have material senses like living entities of this world. Thus, he is beyond our sense perception. Lord manifests in his deity form for our benefit. An example is the appearance of Lord Jagannath through King Indradumna, like that. When our senses are purified through spiritual process, then we can see. Prabhupada says with our material senses, we cannot see the Lord. So can we ever see the Lord? Yes. When our senses become spiritualized, then we can see the Lord. Do you have any examples that anyone saw Lord? Yes. Sant Tukaram saw. Naduni saw. Dhruv Maharaj saw. So many examples in the history where within the same material body, they could perceive the Lord, talk to the Lord, like that. He is said to be maintainer of all living entity, but he is detached. Maintainer, how is a maintainer? He fulfills dependence demands. He provides for them. 15th chapter will read about how Krishna provides for the body, subtle body, and for the soul. What happens? We develop expectation when we do so. We become attached. So therefore he said, although he maintains, but he is detached. In our case, we develop, we do something for someone. We immediately have something to expect from them, isn't it? And we become attached. But Krishna has no expectation and Krishna is totally detached. Lord doesn't interfere in Jiva's free will, which means he is not expecting now Jiva to surrender because I'm providing. If yes, then he would not give a free will to us, na? If that's what his expectation, now you surrender to me. You're not doing anything because you have accepted my subordination. No, he gives free will. And he is unaffected by the Jiva's activity, therefore he is detached. So, law of karma has been designed. Anyone does whatever action accordingly, he gets his reaction. Lord doesn't get affected. That's a point, which means like this. It is always accompanies Jiva as this. Responsible caregiving versus pampering. I'm just a little bit establishing the point of maintaining, and also, within devotee community, we have this concept of devotee care. Care by the counselor, care between the devotees, how care should be given. And that's a point we'll discuss just to make some practical application of this subject matter, what we're discussing about the qualities of Supersoul. Anyone would like to speak? How can you provide care? This is Krishna speaking. We've discussed in the past also. What can we learn from Krishna's action? So, maintainer of all living entities, but he is detached, which means caring for others, but not becoming attached. How? Giving care versus pampering. That's the question here. So, I don't know if I can see everyone. If somebody has something to let me take this discussion. There are two ways of maintaining. One is to give care, and second is to pamper them. Any example of this pampering and caregiving? Indra Maharaj. This is the law of this creation. Krishna never does pampering. Krishna gives care and Devatas do pampering. Which means they don't worry about or ask you, why are you asking such a boon? Brahma ever asked Hiranyakashipu, what are you going to do with all this boon? You don't want to be killed. What is this? So they pamper. So that's the point of your presentation again. We'll go quickly. I was short. So caregiving and pampering. Caregiving means creating a facility for their growth. Pampering means making the dependent always, and just make them happy. Caregiving means fulfilling the needs. Pampering means fulfilling wants. Result, in caregiving, you make a devotee stand on his feet. Whereas in case of pampering, you always make a person dependent and call for you. And you make that individual irresponsible because he has never learned to take any responsibility by himself or herself like that. So if you see in Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, Brahma creates, Vishnu maintains, and Lord Shiva destroys. Who has the most difficult job profile? Why maintenance is difficult? Why maintenance is difficult? Who has the most difficult job profile? Any thoughts? Hare Krishna. Because I spoke about caring, I started getting messages. Okay. How? Any thought? Why maintenance is difficult?
Maintenance.
Among Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, who has the most difficult job profile? Creation, destruction, or maintenance? Somebody said maintenance. Thank you. Why? Give me the why answer.
It is easy.
Yes, Prasad Prabhu. Then I come to Nitai Prabhu. Yes, Prasad Prabhu.
Yeah, it is. For example, from Grihastha experience also, it is easy to give birth, but maintaining child for next 15 years is very tough.
But why tough?
Yeah. Because he has his own independence. He has his
maintenance is a longer phase. Okay. Prabhu, creation is also not small. Only Shiva's destruction. Creation and destruction happens all through the night of Brahma. It continues. It's not only about the longer phase, correct. Time could be, but that's where the subject matter comes. We develop expectations and we become attached. Therefore, maintenance becomes more painful. You cannot maintain, in other words, you cannot take care unless we are detached. The right care can only be offered in a detached mood. If we become conscious about their happiness, which means you'll be forced to pamper them, which means you'll be forced to fulfill wants, then fulfill needs. So, let me ask this question to all of you. Imagine you have a team of 3 people, including you, and you have to divide the task. Whom would you give the most difficult task? Now, don't give me humble response, Prabhu ji, मैं तो किसी लायक नहीं हूँ. तो मैं सब दूसरों को दे दूंगा. मैं कुछ नहीं करूंगा.
Whoever we think is most capable. Whoever is most capable.
And that would be you only. Who could be more trustworthy than you? You're talking on the most difficult task. I cannot give this because this is so difficult. I better do it. See, what I'm saying is, Krishna can delegate. Why Vishnu has to do maintenance? When for creation and destruction, Vishnu have had Brahma and Shiva. For maintenance, he could give it to somebody else also, na? From Sankarshan comes Lord Shiva. Right? So when Sankarshan have taken a role of Lord Shiva, he has manifested himself. Why for maintenance he did not manifest in another form? Why Vishnu is doing it? Vishnu said, it ain't gonna be easy. Better I handle this job profile. I can't give it to anyone. And we have examples of everyone becoming attached. Brahmaji have a case study, Lord Shiva has a case study, things like that. Vishnu says, only me. So again, we're just discussing about some principles here in terms of being a follower of Lord Krishna. Very important. He says about this again and again in Bhagavad Gita. I am not. For the karmas that you do, you have to take responsibility. So many verses we come across different places. And from there, we're drawing this conclusion. What do you mean by caregiving and pampering? Krishna does caregiving and Devatas do pampering. Now, when it comes about Trinity, who has the most difficult job? Vishnu. Why maintenance difficult? Why maintenance difficult? Because when it comes to caring, when we start investing our time, we immediately develop expectations. This child has to become like what I expect. This student of mine has to become what I expect. And that's what leads to problem. So best care can only be given in by those who are genuinely detached. Why? Because they would not get affected by this and that. They will always tell the truth, what is good for you. Not that because if I tell you the truth, I would lose my one potential donor or one student. And that is the role of a sannyasi. What is sannyasi? Sannyasi is said to be socially dead, which means no, he does not depend on you. If it does not depend on you, I mean, he doesn't give a damn about you like or dislike. I mean, traditionally, I'm speaking about the principle of that sannyasi, which means he'll tell you what it is. And therefore, this is said to be the highest order, which means everyone can go. You know, if it is a legal affair, marriage affair, anything has to be gone and resolved with the topmost order. Please, you tell us what to do. And there was no court cases. Were there any court cases? Were there any courts? We read about in Mahabharata. Bhima sued Duryodhan. He misbehaved with my wife, and the court case went on for a few generations. They were direct punching in game finish. Balramji did not sue Rukmi. He cheated with me in the game. Balramji said, case over. Verdict given. That was the situation that time. All right, so go back to the presentation. So responsible caregiving versus pampering. And the result of caregiving is self-reliant and responsible. Pampering means always dependent and responsible. Anything else on this? Okay. 2 lessons. Challenges are stepping stone to success. We should not deprive from our dependence from taking responsibility because of fear of challenges. And second, Lord is not our order supplier. We can ask anything and Lord has to know. Lord wants us to take responsibility and get up on our feet. So master of the modes, I'll make this. Master of the mode, yet he is above the modes. What does it mean? By the way, if in case you kind of got lost what I was discussing about, the quality of maintaining. Lord is maintaining. How does he maintain? There we spoke about responsible caregiving and pampering. Master of the modes, yet he is above the modes. It means Swara, fully independent. Janma karma chame divyam. The laws of the nature are not applicable to him. Birth, death, old age, disease. Never happens. None of this happened to Lord Shri Krishna. Example is a movie and the role of a director. The actor is always out of the movie and the role plays and the characters that happens. He is not affected by the movie characters like this. And the final thing that we discussed today was he is all pervasive. He is beyond sense perception. He is undivided. Example of sun like this. Therefore, in Ishopanishad, it is said, Lord is perfect and complete, and because he's completely perfect, all emanations from him, such as this phenomenal world, are perfectly equipped as complete wholes. Whatever is produced of the complete whole is also complete in itself, because he is a complete whole. Even though so many complete units emanate from him, he remains a complete balance. This is the identity of Supersoul. This is what means by Supersoul. These are the qualities of Supersoul, like this. To conclude for today, apparent contradictions in Lord pastimes are reconciled once we understand the nature of the Lord. We saw the contradictory features of Paramatma. Contradiction means the Lord is inside of me, Lord is outside of me. That actually proves his omnipotency. By our endeavors alone, we cannot understand the nature of the Lord. How to understand Lord? We quoted 3rd canto, one particular purport by Prabhupada, by taking shelter of modified Guru. And only my devotees can understand. I have not discussed this verse, so I'll take it next time. This thing. Yeah. So this is what I had for discussing today. This is all I'll take it next time. 18th and 19th verses. Supersoul. Most of the subject matter. Let me just see what I have in presentation I had. Yeah. This was the concluding slide. All right. So with that, I'll pause here. Just a quick reflection of what we have discussed today. Once again, 13th chapter is one of the most difficult chapters of Bhagavad Gita, quite technical. 6 questions have been asked by Arjuna. Kshetra, Kshetragya, Jnanam, Niyam, Purusha, Prakriti. Kshetra means the field of activity. Just like a land where we cultivate crops, body is a field, a body is a land where you cultivate crops of your karma, where you get bad karma, bad fruit or good fruit based on the way you have cultivated. Kshetragya, one who knows about this body, soul. But the king also knows about all the land. So who is the king? Supersoul. Kshetra, Kshetragya. What is his body made up of? 24 elements. Does anyone know what are the 24 elements? ये short question है आपके भक्ति शास्त्री एग्जाम का. All right, start speaking. Mahabhuta, earth, water, fire, ether. Good. What are the 5 senses?
Knowledge senses.
Knowledge senses.
Ear, nose. Okay. Nose हो गया ना? वो तो sense object है. So 5 sense object is smell, touch, vision, hearing. What हो गया? Sight, touch, 5. So 5 plus 5, 10. What else?
Working senses.
5 working senses. What are the 5?
Hands, legs.
What are the 5 working senses in the Nitai Prabhu?
I can name a couple of them. Hands.
I knew that would be a little difficult.
Legs, hands.
Genitals and rectum. Things are being removed from the body. So one is your hands, legs, I believe mouth also, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So these are the 5 working senses. Okay, this makes 15. What are the 5 knowledge acquiring senses? Very simple. Eyes. Yeah.
Ears, tongue, touch.
Correct, mother. Chindamani. Correct. So that makes 20. What are the 4, 24? Now remaining 4.
Mind, intelligence.
Mind, intelligence, false ego.
And Pradhan.
And what is the 24th?
Pradhan.
Okay, here Pradhan, someplace it is mentioned. So somewhere it is mentioned time, like that, but it's all part of Pradhan. Okay, these are things. So what is the body made up of? These 24 elements. Fine. So this was the first part of discussion. Wise questions, verse number 1 to 7. And then the subject Kshetra can be addressed. What is Jnanam? What is knowledge? Krishna says Jnana means to understand soul and supersoul. And those 20 items of knowledge were discussed in verse number 8 to 12. And what is the most important item of knowledge? Is to render devotional service to the Supreme Personality Godhead. And to do that, we need to do Acharya Upasana. We have to take and accept a bona fide Guru. Then there was a quality of humility, pridelessness, etc., etc. Humility, not to be anxious to receive honor. It can only happen when a person is content in his services that he is doing. And such a person is really a blessed soul. He's happy serving. He's happy serving. That's really a blessed condition of life. Not getting affected by, the temporary things of this world like that. Nadvali, actually, Chitraketu Mahasi in 6th canto, what is that? Beautiful verses. I often quote those verses. It says, what is happiness? What is distress in this world? It is all like waves in the ocean, coming and going, coming and going. It really doesn't matter. So that's the point there. We discussed some of these qualities, items of knowledge. And then came the subject matter about Niyam. What is the object of knowledge? Verse number 13 to verse number 19. We covered up to verse number 17 or 18, if I'm correct. Where we saw the qualities of soul, Anadi, beginningless, beyond the cause and effect, like that. And then we saw the qualities of supersoul. And in that, we saw a few things that are actually very important. I don't know how many of you really could pay attention. So, qualities of supersoul is he is omnipotent and all-pervading. So what does that mean? And then the text number 15. Can you show the slide, please? Text number 15. Sources of senses, contradictory, is maintainer and is master of the mode. What does it mean? Sources of senses. He's all transcendental. What means is maintainer? Maintainer means fully fulfill dependence demands and provides for them. What happens when we do it? We develop expectation, we become attached. But in the case of Lord is detached. How? He never interfere in Jiva's free will and is unaffected by Jiva's activities. Yes or no? If in case our dependent does something, we get so much affected. You're not supposed to be like this. That's the point here. He is unaffected by Jiva's activity. And yet he always accompanies Jiva in the material world as Supersoul. Yet he never gives up on the living entity. Therefore, there we had raised this important question. How to give care? Are we supposed to give care or are we supposed to pamper? What's the difference between care and pamper? Care means create facility. Pampering means fulfill or, just keep dependents happy. Whatever makes them happy, just do that. Care means fulfill their needs. Pampering means fulfill their wants. Whatever they want, just do it. And what's the result? When you give care, genuine care, then you make them stand on their feet because you have given them an opportunity to deal with the challenges and grow beyond it. Whereas in the case of pampering, you have always kept the individual dependent and as a result becomes irresponsible. There I raised a question. When you talk about Trinity, Lord took a form as Brahma, Lord took as a form of Shiva, but while Lord came himself as Vishnu to perform maintenance. And that we had discussion because creation, destruction is okay, but maintenance, very difficult because the moment you do maintenance, you have like expectation and attachment. That itself proves the supremacy of the Lord. No, nothing can affect him, nothing can bind him. The gopis asked, how heartless you are. We have left everything behind. Nobody would accept us now. In the dawn of the night, we came running here and you disappeared. So the Lord said, wait, listen, what to do? I'm Atmaram. I'm self-satisfied. Krishna said, I'm Atmaram. I do not depend. You know what to do. You have to accept the truth about me. But because you love me so much, I'm bound by your love. But I do not depend on anything. So that's the point here, responsible caregiving versus pampering. So we should not shy away from challenges and do not expect Lord to fulfill all our demands. Lord is not our order supply. And the last point, master of the modes, is Swarat, etc., etc. We had discussed that. All right. So this was a major part of discussion about super soul and soul. Now we're going to come into some very interesting discussion in the rest of the verses. How many verses the chapter has? 29, if I'm correct? Or 33 or something? 13th chapter. 35, right? Yeah, 35, 13.35, correct. And we are done with around 18. Rest chapter will happen quickly. This was the, rest chapter is now about Purusha and Prakriti. There are a few more verses about Super Soul, and then there'll be discussion about Purusha and Prakriti. Who is in joy? Beautiful purpose there. We'll take a look at it. All right, we'll catch up next week. Any announcements about anything? I believe all of you are very much excited for your exam. I believe it is next Saturday, right? Unit 2 exam? Correct?
3rd June.
Oh, okay. I was just checking how many of you are still awake. Okay, yeah. 3rd June we have exam. And some are planning to give next Sunday. Is that so? Those are not available. So in case somebody is not available in June, you have, early opportunity. And that is to face the challenge. Challenge is a stepping stone to success. We will say today. So you can write exam coming Sunday. Okay, any questions, comments, any inputs, we can take it. Any other discussion? Yes, Madam Maidani, go ahead. By the way, Madam Maidani, what's our OBA deadline we have decided now?
OBA is 13th May.
Okay, Haribol, everyone okay? There is no extension, huh? If in case I see any message saying extension, I will pretend I did not see the message. I'm telling your friend, don't tell me you didn't respond it. Okay, fine. So 13th, Madam Madam, you can just put it again, huh? Big bold letters.
There are other messages also on your chat box. What from this?
Oh, there's a message on my chat box. So what do I need to do with that? No, is this pertaining about anything to the discussion?
Yes, Prabhu.
Anything about today's discussion? We can read out. What is it? If there anyone has posted any question.
No. There are hands raised. The questions.
Okay. Mother Maidani, yes.
Yes, Pranam.
Yes,
Prabhu, in the 12th verse, it is said that as for detachment, like when they are not favorable to spiritual progress, then one should not be attached to them. So like often we hear that if the husband is not Krishna conscious, then still you have to be there. But here clearly it is stated that you can, leave them and come.
So you try to make him Krishna conscious. When everything fails, then it could be discussed at that stage. Now, try doesn't mean, Prabhu, I tried for 1 week. Didn't work. No, that doesn't mean that way. Something is subjective, something is objective. It has to be, these are little more sensitive issues, have to be seen in full picture and has to be applied case by case, like that. And this is largely the decision of a spiritual master, what he wants to advise to his disciple, what should be the course of action. We cannot draw a course of action in our Bhagavad Gita study because it's a very personal thing. So your question is totally valid, that Prabhupada says. So yeah, Prabhupada is saying there is a situation when we might have to give it up, or rather you can take it that way. Let's make our all best arrangement that we don't come into this situation. Whether we find a devotee background. Either way, it could be taken that way. Fine.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Nitai Pran, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for the wonderful class today. Prabhu, my question is related to these 8 to 12 verses that we discussed today. So the point that we were discussing about the honor and dishonor, where you mentioned that the devotees should have the feeling of a satisfaction that they've been following the instruction of the spiritual master. Yeah, and they've been even practicing.
Yeah, the point was the the blessed platform is when we have this sense of gratitude that I'm so fortunate that I have an opportunity to serve. And that sense of gratitude itself gives enough contentment that we're not looking for anyone else's acknowledgement. I'm happy to do service.
Yeah, but my question is how we will come to know that we will actually fulfilling the spiritual master or fulfilling the
No. I never spoke anything about spiritual master. I said about service. And service has to be given by some authority. We all are working under somebody. Everyone has some superior to guide them. My focus is on service. Not on the spiritual master being satisfied or not. Spiritual master would indeed be satisfied if he sees we are cooperating with each other. Spiritual master would indeed be satisfied if you're chanting 16 rounds, if following 4 regular principles. There's no question of knowing he's satisfied or not satisfied. He's satisfied. Therefore, you and I have a service opportunity. We have service opportunity, which means somewhere, something we have done because of which, we have been given this blessed opportunity. Yes, maybe before it could be a case of causeless mercy of a Vaishnava. But years have gone by still. If in case I was such an aparadhi, then this facility of service would have been taken away. For how long would I remain a causeless case? Of course, we are causeless case, no doubt about it. But what I meant to say is, yes, Vaishnava mercy is there. In the beginning, it is needed. Just like a mother or father has a child who is just learning to walk. It gives them the hand to support. But then they say, okay, now you walk. So this is a philosophical truth. You and I have a service, which means, we have the grace. We have that. Now, in case if there is a little question arising, then how do I know my spiritual master? The question, we have to look deeply into this. Why this question is coming? Why this thought is coming? Why? Would I spiritual master? If I look at it, which means there is something is wrong in our relationship with our seniors, because they being pleased does not give that guarantee that our spiritual master will be pleased. Because if they are pleased, then definitely spiritual master is pleased. Either we really don't see them in that light that they're representing our spiritual master properly. Or we see that, what to do. I'm around here. Just because there is this forum and I'm part of this forum, I have to be engaged, I have to render something, so I'm doing it. So it looks like there is more to do between our relationship with our immediate authority, which leads to this kind of a confusion. Imagine, think about it. If you had been directly, just like, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had put Raghunath Goswami under the care of Saru Damodar. Imagine, say, let's say you're serving directly under direct associate of your spiritual master. Would you ask a question to that person? Prabhu, I'm doing so much service. Would my spiritual master be pleased? I mean, would that question arise generally? I mean, you know that I'm serving him. He's a direct representative of my spiritual master. He's a direct associate. And I cannot really, go and venture into space and disturb him because so many things to do. My spiritual master put me into the situation. So if he's happy, then everything is happy. Everything's going good. So these questions can be reconciled two ways. One, if in case you have an opportunity to ask a spiritual master, I'm serving here. How can I serve you? How can I make you happy? How can I please you? The answer would generally be, make sure you serve nicely your authorities. Then you get this conviction. Okay, bhaiya, jo bhi hai, my spiritual master would be happy because he told me. That we can reconcile it. That is a little easy way because we don't, none of us, most of us will not have direct access. Because we know now our relationship has been authorized like that. So these are some of the thoughts that I can think of. Other way would be if in case our that becomes easy. I don't know, but in the congregation center could be challenging. It becomes a little easy if you're working under the temple model. When there is a temple model, not a congregation model alone, but when there is a temple model, that there is a congregation leader, the congregation reports to temple authority. Then it becomes very clear the line of sight of parampara. And the temple also time and again invites all the devotees, recognizes them, gives an opportunity for a younger devotee to meet with the leaders. So they also feel, what, my services are being notified. Like in India, it happens a lot. Book distribution awards are given. Then all the devotees are called in and they are acknowledged for their distribution services. Different things happens. Those who make garlands, they have, once or twice in a year special festival where some senior, either Prabhupada disciple or senior, in the second generation sannyasi or senior devotee will come and speak to all the mothers. They're doing the background services. So they feel like, yes, our services have been recognized. We are doing right. Like that, some of the things are generally done to cover up on, to take care of this aspect. Fine.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Prabhu, I've got a couple of more questions from chapter 12 that we discussed last week. Is it okay to ask?
We'll take a question from Padma Govind Prabhu. The class is officially over, and those who want to quit, they can go ahead. And those who need to be around for the question, they can be. It's all up to you. Where's Padma Govind Prabhu?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, while we discuss
Yes.
verses 8 to 12, one of the qualities was said to be simplicity. And,
yes.
Why in simplicity, a mention is also made that we should disclose the truth to the enemy.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, again.
In that case means by disclosing the truth, we will be accepting defeat. No, Prabhuji. Even accepting defeat should be treated as simplicity.
So, accepting, we should be truthful even to the enemy. I mean, correct. I guess, first of all, we should begin somewhere being truthful to ourselves. That's really a very high platform. You're talking about something like Yudhishthira Maharaj. Generally, if you look at these principles given to us for us to reach to that platform. It is not possible, at all situation for all of us to begin practicing right now. Is it making sense a little bit? For example, the point is given is contribute 50% of your earnings in Krishna consciousness. This is a direction for you to come. This is not that necessarily right now somebody has come introduced to Krishna consciousness, been around for 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, has to do it unless you'll not be accepted in ISKCON. No, we should be aiming for that platform where we come. We have designed our life such a way that we now eventually think that we'll be able to contribute everything in the service of the Lord. So when it comes to the principle Arjuna, see, Prabhupada said books are going to be my law book. So what I've defined what is expected. But to reach to that level, we have, things to, one, be true to yourself, then be true to your, to your authorities. Gradually, we gradually come to that. Maybe that time we'll have a better understanding of it. Truthfulness doesn't mean that we violate other principles. Lord Shri Krishna himself asked Yudhishthira to lie. The point is, prior to that, whatever, brings us closer to Krishna consciousness. What's the point of truth if it takes us away from absolute truth?
Okay.
A lie is better, which brings us to absolute truth. Right? Our Vasudev spoke a lie. He swept his son with a daughter. Lord Ram spoke a lie. He told Sumantra, drive the chariot. Sumantra said, how can I? My king is saying, don't drive the chariot. Lord Ram said, you drive the chariot, and when you come back, and the Shraddha, why didn't you stop the chariot? Tell him that you didn't hear his sound. Why? There was a reason for it. Lord Ram didn't wanted, the Shanmah to feel the pain and all the rest of the members. All right?
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Nitai Pran Prabhu. Oh, what happened to the camera?
Yeah, we
just
can't
blacked
see
out. As a battery finish, okay, to come YouTube to kar do. We can just discuss Zoom. I can switch on my camera. Yes, go ahead. In the battery.
So this is from the verse 3 and 4 of chapter 12, Prabhu, which mainly talk about those who are worshipping the unmanifested form. And as you mentioned in the verse, that is mainly for the Ashtanga Yogi and the Jnana Yogis.
Correct.
So in this verse, it is being mentioned in the purport as well as in the translation that even they achieve Krishna. So we have read in the previous chapter that they only get to the point of the Brahman. They never get to able to achieve Krishna. Then how come then these verses says that they even able
No. Not like that. They're not able to achieve Krishna. You read the second canto. There also, when the path of impersonalism is mentioned, they're advanced impersonalists and then neophyte impersonalists. So advanced impersonalists, they go back. If you see, even Sukdev Goswami was considered impersonalist. Even our, four Kumaras were considered impersonalists unless they went to Vaikuntha until then. So they did achieve like that. It's not your progress stops. It's only your choice if you want to take it further. You can go and read this. What is that? Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma. Read the verse after that. When you read that, it is mentioned, once you reach Brahman realization, actual devotional life begins. So if a person is blessed and has an opportunity to get some bona fide direction, then he can make an advancement, further advancement.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Prabhu. And for the verse 5, in continuation to this, Prabhu, even the verse 5 says the process that these people have been following is very difficult.
Correct.
Now your vision is okay. Yeah, we can see. No, it's blurred now.
Yeah, what will come and fix it? Go ahead.
Yeah. So
we're talking about impersonal now. So little impersonal things are going on here. Okay.
Yeah, so in the verse 5, it's been saying those who've been following this practice where they've been worshipping the unmanifested form, for them the process is very, very difficult. Yeah, they have to do a lot of austerity.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Jnana, yoga, ashtanga, yoga, so many difficulties.
Yeah. Then my question is, it's been as you even mentioned that the bhakti yoga is very simple. Yeah. But my question or my feeling in this point is that how come a bhakti yoga is easy? See, if even I talk about the only aspect of the bhakti, that is chanting, how much we even struggle to chant. There is a lot of seminars been going on how to improve chanting.
Your question is arising just because you don't know what are the difficulties of Ashtanga Jnana Marga. You're finding your bhakti yoga practice to be difficult, but you don't know what's the difficulty there. Therefore, you're saying, see, okay, let me say this way. If somebody in a marriage ashram gets divorced, is the problem with the marriage institution or problem with those divorcees?
It's with the divorcees.
If somebody is struggling in bhakti yoga, whose problem it is? Practitioners or the practice?
Well, even who is practicing.
Yeah, so there's a practitioner's problem. So when it is spoken in contrast. It's so simple. Encounter. You don't have to give up anything. Continue. Joyful. You don't have to pluck your hairs, do anything like that. See your austerity. You don't have to go and surround yourself with fire in a hot sunny day and take a dip in the frozen Ganges in the early winter morning. You can be at home, take a cold water bath in the summer season and take a hot water bath in the winter season. Yet you're called as a yogi.
But Prabhu, that's the point. How is one taking that situation? And now, if you talk about Ashtanga Yogi or Gyan Yogi, they might be enjoying standing in the sun, or they might be doing enjoying doing those austerities.
They might be means they're very handful of it. It cannot be publicly accepted. The Bhakti Yoga is so simple in the sense it can be accepted by public at large. Who doesn't like chanting, dancing, and feasting? You know, everyone can take to it. How many people can really go to forest? How many people can give up the family life, can give up occupation? If we speak in that contrast like that, you know, our challenges is just because of the time and place we are born into, which has made it very difficult. Today, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga is out of question. We're not even qualified to begin with it. We don't even meet the prerequisites of it. In Bhakti Yoga, no prerequisites are checked. It's difficult because the times are difficult, no doubt about it. Therefore, the easiest part of the Bhakti Yoga is given. Priti Vashi is part of Bhakti Yoga. That was Dwapara Yoga. Meditation previous. You know, performing sacrifice the previous yoga. No, now you chant only. And what chant? Namna Makari Vahuda Nija Sarva Shakti Tatra Pita Niyamata Smarnina Kala. No rules and regulation. You cannot even chant without rules and regulation. You have to be Brahmana, whatnot. Now, nothing. Everyone is born as Shudra. Everyone can become a Brahmana if he knows the art of it. All right? Okay. So we'll pause here. If anything, you can ping me personally. Okay, Prabhu?
Thank you so much.
We close. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam.